Yeah, hey Dirk. Okay, so just some basics on slide guitar. Guitar setup is pretty important. So I've basically got a guitar here in standard tuning. I'm just going to leave it in standard tuning, but it's got a little bit bigger strings on it that I would normally use. So there's probably, I think there's 12 gauge strings on these, and I maybe raise the action just a little bit. That'll just help kind of get the technique down, or at least be a little bit less frustrating at first. Okay, so the important part about playing slide is getting your intonation right. So a good way to practice that, a good way to think about it is, like when you play a fretted note, you're basically, let's see if I'm on the high E string and I'm playing this E note. When you play a fretted note, you're pushing a string down between two anchored points, the frets, between the frets, as you know. Well, slide's a little bit differently. In order to get that tone, you need to be directly above the fret. So if I play an E here, to get that same E, I need to rest the slide directly over top of the 12th fret. And you don't press down with the slide, you just rest it lightly on top of the string so you can move it, move it like this. So a good way to practice is to get your target note. It's almost like when you were practicing bends when you first started, find your target tone that you want to get. So here's that E, and then lay that slide right on top of the 12th fret. That's the slide playing the note versus the fretted note. And make sure you have it kind of straight vertical up and down. Hold the slide position. I use these two fingers back behind the slide to mute, to make sure that I don't have any unwanted strings vibrating. And I'm playing with my fingers, so I do the same thing with my fingers. I'll kind of hold my thumb here on strings that I don't want to ring out, and then I'll use my index finger or my middle finger to play. Like, I'm just going to stay on this high E string for demonstration, to play on that string. So, for example. Okay, so that's really all there is to the technique. Another good way to practice would be to just kind of stay on one string at first, and just play a major scale. So if you got your open string, so once you kind of once you get the notes sounding clearly and kind of able to ring out with the slide, then you can practice your vibrato. And it's the same with a finger vibrato. You want to just kind of get, for me at least, a nice even, I like to get a nice even sort of back and forth vibrato. So just like that. And if you do it long enough, you'll just be able to do this sort of indefinitely. It's going to be a little awkward at first, I know, but if you work with it, it'll eventually come to where you don't even have to think about it. So you can just play a note, let it ring, and then add vibrato afterwards. Or you can add vibrato right away, slide into a note. Like that, or slide back into a note. There's just really all kinds of possibilities just with a couple notes like that. Once you get kind of that technique down on the single notes, you think about chord shapes. And the way I do that in standard tuning with a slide is, think about if I take my slide off here, just think about like a bar chord, like an E, let's say an E major bar chord at the 7th fret or whatever. The notes that your ring finger would be fretting, those three notes right there is like major triad, and that works really well with a slide. So you can, because they're right on top of each other, so you can play an E there, or a C, D, E, and then work on that vibrato, that kind of shimmer, or however you want it to be. And then you can sort of develop licks off those chord shapes or off of scale patterns, just like playing with your fingers. The biggest thing is just getting that that slide technique down. So that'll probably take a while. It took me a while. So just make sure your slide is laying flat on the strings vertically. Hold your hand in a nice position with your thumb back behind it. Kind of anchor your thumb back behind the neck like that, so you can, when you use your vibrato, you can use that to anchor it. And just play right on top of that fret to get your intonation right. If you're not right on top of that fret, if you're a little bit off, it'll sound, well, off, right? So get your target note, slide, and then practice some scales. And practice your vibrato, and that should keep you busy for a while. But let me know if you have any other questions, and maybe that's just a good thing to get started on. All right, talk to you later.